So for some of the people that maybe listen that aren't super familiar with motocross, supercross, when we talk about AMA championships, so, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's kind of like, people probably understand with like NASCAR. There's a circuit, there's a set amount of races, you get a certain amount of points for where you place, correct?
Yeah, so it's currently outdoors and Supercross. Supercross is all stadium based, so all football and baseball stadiums. Outdoors is on a big old piece of property, normally out of cities, out of towns, so where they have big, lap times 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Our lap
Mm-hmm.
time for a Supercross race is about 55 seconds. Summertime is outdoors, winter is Supercross. So you have a whole separate set of, conditions and weather. Supercross is normally pretty cold or cool. Outdoors can be up in upwards of 100, 105. And you got all your gear on and things like that. It's hot.
When given those extremes, did you like the big old field or did you like the stadium better?
Honestly, I liked both. I excelled in both. And by the time, because we have our total series when I was racing currently it's changed a little bit. Our program's kind of changed currently, but when I was racing, it was 12 outdoors and it's 17 Supercrosses. If you're in the premier class, now if you're in the 250 class, which is kind of the starter, call it the starter class,
Mm-hmm.
you do 8 rounds of Supercross, but you still do 12 rounds of outdoors. So as when I was 16, 17, 18, that was 8 rounds of Supercross, 12 rounds of outdoors. When I turned 450 and went up to the 450 class, which I would have been 21. That's when the schedule is like, it really gets piled on. That's 17 Supercrosses and 12 outdoors. So you pretty much race year round.
Yeah, that's wild. Damn.
Yeah. So they keep it that way because of the call it the 250 class, the call it the starter class is what I'll call it. If those kids or those guys did 17 rounds of Supercross, there probably would be half of them would be hurt. It's just so much load on the body traveling, because we do 17 rounds and 18 weekends essentially is what it is. So you race 17 races in 18 weekends, and then you have 2 weekends off, and then you go straight to outdoors, and then you pretty much do the 12 outdoors in about 14 weekends, roughly. So it's a very busy schedule, and you have to have that maturity. You have to have that true grit type, and you don't get that, like I said, till you're 23, 24, 25, 26 years old.
Yeah, that's unreal. So, I mean, and back then, are you doing any training, like as far as
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about that as far as the training and just kind of taking care of your body, because that is you talk about grind. I mean, that's a grind. I mean, good. I mean, I can't think of any other. Yeah, I mean, they play football games every weekend, but that's for 18 weekends and a training, maybe half a year. But I mean, that's running and gunning.
And the difference between that is you have a team to rely on, right? Like if I showed up on an off day, or I tweaked my knee, or I hurt something on, like, yes, I have a team, but they're all on the sidelines. They're the mechanics, the truck drivers, and they're there to help. But when the gate drops, whatever injury or whatever you're dealing with, you have to push through that as the rider. So that's it's a very individual sport. So yeah, as for the training, the diet, like honestly, as a kid, as an early professional, like 17, 18, 19, like, yes, I trained a lot of road biking, a lot of gym, but I kind of ate what I wanted to eat. I would call it, those were the golden years, meaning I was just kid power, call it.
Yeah. Metabolism at an all-time high.
Yeah, exactly. So then when I went up to the 450 class, I would have been 21 years old, I think, roughly, of what I would have been. That's when all of my weaknesses were exposed, from the training aspect and not having my shit together, essentially, to race at the highest level.
Yep.
And I had to clean up my diet, chicken, fish, no cheese, really no table bread, only bread we would eat would be sandwiches. And that would be at lunchtime in between motos. So I hired a guy named Eldon Baker, worked with Ricky Carmichael, which was one of the best in our sports history. I was able to hire him. James Stewart had just parted ways with him. I was just coming back from a major injury. I'd blown out my tib, fib, and ankle. They put five plates and 20 screws in my lower foot and ankle. Yeah, and I was, I thought about retiring and collecting the insurance money. Ended up not doing that. Well, I got, my phone rang, and it's like, hey, one of my good friends and also sponsor was like, hey, Eldon's available. And I said, okay, let's sit down at the last national, which was out here in California at Paula. And I'm like, he's available. So I sat down with him. I was at the bottom of the barrel. Like, I needed to do something. I needed to change my program if I wanted to succeed in the premier class. So I said, well, what's it going to take? It's going to take $300,000. I said, okay, to hire him. And I said, okay. I handshake deal right there. And I wasn't even riding yet. Like, I think I might've still been on crutches or limping around. And, so he took a gamble on me to a certain extent, not knowing if I was going to be 100% coming back from that injury. And I'm like, I looked at it because, my race bonuses wins were 100,000 a night. So I could, and then some other added on stuff, I could clear 130 to 150,000 a night. So I just looked at it. I was like, yes, it's a lot of fucking money, but I'm like, all I have to do is win 3 races.
Investment,
and I got the
baby.
dude paid off. Yeah. I got the dude paid off in 3 races. So I took a gamble. We did that. And I literally came back that next season, which was about 4 months from the start of Supercross. And I came out and won the opening night at Anaheim.